Welcome to the Therapist Uncut podcast, where off-the-clock therapists who happen to be friends share their uncensored thoughts about real life. Join us weekly in spreading positivity and making mental health relatable through casual conversation, inspirational stories, and real talk with friends who happen to be therapists. Please welcome your co-hosts, Nikki Young, Jolene and Alyssa Nahara.
We haven't worked together, I think, in the same setting for about 3 years, if I'm remembering correctly. So we've stayed connected this entire time. It's looked different throughout the process. It's not, obviously, the podcast is just now starting. We've definitely stayed connected with each other. Those connections are extremely important, not just within your family, within a friends group, a support group, other individuals who you can really feel like they get you. And these people, as different as we might be, they get us. They get me. They're going to get you.
I definitely agree. I think the connection that we had, and I will tell you, all right, I'm going to talk about like the first weeks of when we started our clinical supervision group. I was terrified because I was walking in like, all right, I got this background, but I really don't know how to do this. And I was this new person in training and I was just so scared. And I sit down and it was like an immediate sense of safety with these guys. And Nikki and Jolene are some of the funniest people that I know. And I just love being around them. And if you can imagine the people in your group and your network that just make you feel so good. And even though you can't see them in person, when you call them, when you see their pictures, when you guys send texts back and forth, you feel that goodness and that connection. And that's what we want to share with you guys. And that's what we want to build with you guys. We really want you to be a part of our group and feel all of these things that we've been feeling for several years. I feel like we're literally in a relationship right now, but we're not. Just talking about our friendship and, of course, our professional relationship as well.
Definitely. And Alyssa says that Jolene and I are funny, and she says she's not, but she just...
I'm not the funny one.
You're in denial.
I'm not sure what one I am, but I feel like it's not the funny one. The more you listen to this, you guys can give us some input on maybe on maybe which one we each are.
You will notice that this group, we're going to interrupt each other because that's what real life, real relationships, real friendship is. I apologize, Nikki.
No, and our producer, we got a lecture before we started this from our producer and our director that we have to be very careful about cutting people off. I feel like now's a good time to give a little shout out to our awesome producer and director.
Yes, Nikki, I'll let you start with, I was going to let you start with our director.
Ladies first.
All right, I'll go first. So I'm going to start with our producer of Therapist Uncut, who is Anthony Nahara, also known as my wonderful husband. We've been married for a decade now. We've got 3 kids, and we started this, he and I became almost business partners, and we opened my practice in Tuolumne County, which is now based out of Stanislaus County. And it kind of just slowly evolved into different things and things that caught our interest. And now here we are. And he is producing our Therapist Uncut podcast, and he does all of the engineering that comes with it. So thank you, Anthony.
Yes.
He's the brilliant tech guy.
Yes.
All right. So Anthony is our awesome producer. We also have a pretty fantastic director, if I do say so myself, who happens to be my wife, Stacey Anderson Young. Alyssa, myself, Jolene, and I all work together. But Stacey actually worked with us as well at the nonprofit where we all originated. She's also a brilliant therapist and our director.
I so appreciate. I am not married to Anthony or Stacey.
Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you for the clarification.
I so appreciate them and being there to help us not squirrel all the time. Alyssa's not so much of a squirrel type of person. I did not think I was, but apparently I am.
I'm a shiny squirrel person. It's a double whammy.
We knew Nikki was a squirrel way back in
day one.
So that is not surprising.
One. I got to say that group was probably the first time, and I don't know how I got through my entire school-aged life without realizing this, but it wasn't until I graduated with my master's and was long into working as a therapist in that group was the first time I realized I probably have ADHD.
I'm kind happy that we can.
And I think that it was you guys that brought that to my attention.
And you will notice that sometimes we do that, and then that's when the group, aka Jolene and I, and or Stacy and Anthony, our director and producer, will say, "Bring it back in, pull it back, come on."
This is where we're going to have those squirrel moments. This is the perfect opportunity. We're not necessarily going to squirrel off.
I really like that, yeah. But this is where we are going to squirrel. And for those of you who don't know what squirrel is, should we explain that?
From time to time, we are going to squirrel. We're going to squirrel into our personal lives. We're going to let you know. We're going to let you know what it looks like.
Did Nikki just say squirrel so hard? We're going to put that on a coffee mug somewhere. Oh my goodness. I'm going to come back to that one.
Destigmatizing ADHD, squirrel so hard.
Genius. For anybody who heard that, we're going to trademark that, so please don't take it. It is in the process. We are trademarking squirrel so hard. So wait, before we move forward, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off, Jolene. I feel like we need to address this. We just turned a noun into a verb, and I want to make sure that everybody knows what we mean by squirrel. If you have any children, if you have any love for Disney movies, and the movie Up, right?
No, Pixar.
I legitimately had zero idea that it came from a movie.
It's the movie Up. Yeah, the dog squirrels and he talks. So it is. But Up is Pixar, isn't it?
I think we're squirreling right now.
Anyways, if you haven't seen that movie, you're not going to understand the reference. Just know that that is what Nikki means by squirrel so hard.
Are there really people who don't know what squirrel means?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
We'll find out. You guys tell us.
Squirrel so hard.
Back to Jolene, who so graciously was talking about how we are going to use this time to squirrel.
We're going to share our personal lives. We're going to pause things and say, hey, I had a situation like that. So you can better understand where we are, kind of just like you. We're not any different, having these concerns going on.
Oh, yeah. We're going to go deep into, and I know that we're all COVID burnt out and we're all video Zoom burnt out, but it's an important topic. It doesn't matter what profession you're in, we've all been affected in some capacity by everything COVID. And that is what the next series of episodes is going to focus on how we've all been impacted, the good and the bad. Sometimes you're going to listen to us and we sound all put together. And sometimes you're going to listen to us and we just sound like a hot mess. But it's going to be a fun ride, whichever episode you tune in on.
But that is real life.
And that's a real life. It really is.
Real life. Real shit.
We squirrel hard.
So hard.
And be honest, we're always a hot mess. We just pretend the times that we
are really good at pretending like we have it together.
So speaking of us and our individual personalities and squirreling, let's talk a little bit more about how we got there, because we've talked about where we met. We met at an awesome nonprofit agency where we learned so much and made relationships that really will last a career and a lifetime. But how did we get here? So somebody mentioned it's been several years since we were in that position, and now we're in a much different place in our lives and our careers. So let's talk a little bit about how we got there. I know Alyssa started to go there a little bit in regards to where she's at currently and her venture to get there with Anthony.
Yeah, I can start. So a little bit about me. My name is Alyssa Nahara. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I often say people don't know what that is, and that's totally fine. So I'll start from the beginning. I graduated from Stan State. Hey, shout out to the Warriors in Turlock. Oh, look, there's 2 alumni here. All right. So after college, I spent a total of 7 years in college. I got a couple degrees in my undergrad, and then I stayed for my master's in social work. Great program, by the way. And after that, fresh out of college, I was probably like 20. I was a baby still. I went to work for a child welfare services agency, also known as CPS. So I was a CPS social worker and supervisor for about 4 or 5 years before I started this track of, I think I'm going to become a therapist one day, because I will tell you that is not what was on my school projects when they said, one day I'm going to be a therapist. But it's totally just how life works. It worked out. I ended up going down that track, and that's when I started working at the nonprofit with these guys. And then from there, it was a great journey. So I am the owner of Small Town Counseling California, which is based out of Oakdale, California. And we've got a satellite office in Tuolumne County. I was in a really fortunate situation in my training that I worked for a wonderful therapist by the name of Claudia Forrester, and she had her own private practice. However, we did not plan very well for what would happen when I was no longer a associate, which meant I had my master's, but I did not yet have my license yet because I was in the middle of getting those hours. And when I took my exam to get licensed, I did not anticipate in passing it the first time. Luckily I did. And then here we were in this space where I could no longer legally work for her because I was now licensed. So that put Anthony and I in this pickle of, what are we going to do? And my husband, being the wonderful person he is, and he's brilliant, not only is he our producer and have a background in engineering and sound, but he also worked in the healthcare industry for like 15 years. So of course his first thought was, we could just start our own practice. And I wanted to cry, but I trust him. So we did it. And now here we are, 2 offices, starting a podcast. We're doing training. So it's been a fun ride.
And we've talked a lot about where we all met, which was at a local nonprofit. So we should probably let the people know what we did there.
So I worked in a program called the Academic Success Program, where I specifically worked with K through 12 students who needed some mental health support through clinical counseling. And all of the students that I worked with had an active IEP. So there was some sort of support that they were getting in their school that allowed them to access our services.
And Jolene, tell us a little bit about what you did specifically.
I worked in 3 different programs. Actually, the majority of a marriage and family therapist hours have to come from children and families. So I worked in the child program, working with young people in elementary schools. I then transitioned into their early psychosis program and transitioned into their adult managed care program. And that's when I transitioned into private practice.
I also worked in a variety of programs at the agency and had just an awesome experience in each one. I think a large portion of my time was spent in their school-based mental health program, which was a little bit different than what Alyssa's talking about. We were a Medi-Cal-based program. I spent most of my time at one of the local high schools. Definitely like working with the older kids. I also worked for their managed care program, in which I saw adults, kids, mostly adults though. And then I also was a support clinician, which meant I just provided an additional level of administrative support to the other clinicians. So that's where we all met. I think that we all just had such an awesome experience, both with our colleagues, our coworkers, supervisors, both clinical and administrative, just an awesome agency. But Jolene has also taken her career up a notch and is on her own as well. So Jolene, tell the people.
I'll go back a little bit further. I am not one of these youngins that was 20-something.
Are we young?
Whoa! Time out.
When I got out of college.
I am much older than I look. I am not 12. I'm only 30.
I'm only.
Okay.
You do look at least 15, so shame on
you. You know, right? I was thinking I look like I might be 16, but I'll take 15. In fact, we walked into our youngest. So last year, she started a new school, had a new teacher that didn't know us. We walked into the first parent-teacher conference of the year. The girl's dad was there. He walked in first, shook the teacher's hand. And my wife walked in next, shook the teacher's hand. I walk in, and I'm ready to stick out my hand. And she says, "Oh, hey, kiddo, can I get you some crayons?" I'm so used to the third person entering a room being a sibling that she's just trying to cover it. She's a very nice lady. I love her to death. We all had a group hug in the parking lot after. But yeah, that's what it's like to look like you're 12. It also doesn't fare too well when you work at a high school. So going back to our agency work, I don't know how many times a new staff member would start at the school and they'd come into the teacher's lounge where we had to make copies and they would try to kick me out and say, "You're not supposed to be in here."
All right, we're going to get back to Jolene, but for the record, Nikki is not 12. She is 30. I'm pretty sure I'm 32. I feel like you stop counting after 30. So normally my husband does the math for me. I'm going to go with 32. Anthony, if I'm wrong, you can tell me.
Well, he's in your ear. Anthony, how old is she?
Anthony confirmed that I am 32.
We have confirmation. He is 32.
I love that though, Alyssa, because so many people, I actually just had a friend have their birthday on Facebook and I wish them happy birthday. And they're like, Yeah, thank you. I think I am.
Jason, get off the Wi-Fi.
Turn it off. Everybody get off my internet.
That's the only thing I could think of. We have really good internet at home. So I love that you said that, Alyssa, that you're like, I think I'm this age. I do forget often. Actually, I forget my anniversary more than I forget how old I am, which is really bad because then I can't complain when my husband
That's
forgets
so
my
true.
anniversary. Yeah. So I have another friend on Facebook that I wished her happy birthday, and then she was telling the story about realizing that she was actually a year younger than she thought she was. So that's a positive.
Right?
Yeah.
See, I'm not the only one. So, Jolene, how old are you now?
So I'm going to go back to the fact that you two are youngins. I am 45.
Okay.
So no, I was not in my 20 somethings when I got out of my master's program. I didn't actually even start college until I was 32. So I was Alyssa's age when I started college. Did not go to college out of high school. And the people that are listening to this that have known me for that long probably say, wow, we never thought she would have went to college.
Another story for another day.
Yes. So I started college, went 7.5 years, I think, technically, through my master's program, graduated from a Christian university, Simpson University, out of Redding, California. I did start college for my undergraduate or my hours for traineeship, which is when we're in school, it's a traineeship, and continued to worked there for a little over 5 years. I believe it's what it was, and transitioned into private practice. In May of 2017, I started my private practice. And so now this month, I've been almost 3 years in private practice here in Modesto.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
These two were actually instrumental in nudging me into private practice recently. So I also am a Stan State alum. I completed both my undergraduate and graduate degree there. Awesome experience, same as Alyssa, just amazing professors who are also professionals in the community, practicing in the community. So it was just really great to establish those relationships from the get-go. After graduation, I did start working for the local nonprofit that we all met at. Had an awesome experience, really learned a lot there, spent several years there. Then really discovered my passion for crisis work. And I think a lot of people go into the counseling field not really aware of what all is out there, but it's so diverse and there's really so many different opportunities. So I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I really like crisis work and a little bit about what that is. You're a therapist, you're a clinician, but beyond just sitting in front of somebody week to week, you're going in and performing evaluations in an emergency situation. So you got a little bit of law enforcement-esque feel to it. You got a little bit of emergency room personnel feel to it, and you're conducting evaluations to determine whether or not somebody meets criteria for inpatient psychiatric hospitalization. It's a lot more broad than that, but that's kind of to quickly sum it up. And so I worked at a nearby county as a crisis clinician for several years. I was primarily assigned to the team working with minors, but did a lot of overtime shifts with the adult department. So just got a wealth of experiences there. Really fell in love with crisis work. Did not like commuting, though. I am not a commuter.
Just doesn't work.
I love to drive. I do not love to sit in traffic. So finally, my wife said, hey, this is not good for your mental health. You got to come home. So started looking at, I loved the job. That was the hard part. So I started looking for local opportunities. I did end up getting an opportunity to work as a part-time crisis clinician locally. So I'm still doing that crisis work that I love. And like I mentioned, my wife is also a brilliant therapist. She's a brilliant one. We're both therapists. Really with the urging of these two, honestly, with Jolene and Alyssa in our ears, I know that Jolene really absolutely 100% helped me get off the ground as a solo practitioner when I did come back home. And I did some part-time private practice just as myself. And then we had Alyssa in our ear, just really nudging Stacy towards private practice as well, because we all know that she would be phenomenal at it. And so finally, she thought about it long enough. She got the boost of confidence that she needed, and we talked her into it. So Stacy and I actually recently launched a group private practice. Catalyst Counseling Incorporated. We are located in Modesto. And at Catalyst, we focus on treating motivated individuals, couples, and professionals who are navigating life transitions, healing from trauma, managing high-stress work environments or home environments. We work with veterans, couples. So check our website out. I know we all have websites and social media information, so let's go ahead and plug that here. But you can find Catalyst at catalystcounselinginc.com. We also have Facebook and Instagram at the same name, Catalyst Counseling Inc. But feel free to check us out. We'd love to help you out. Jolene, where can people find you?
I'm online, dailymft.com. And then Instagram and Facebook are both Jolene Daily MFT.
Yep, and you can find us at smalltowncounselingca.com. We are also on social media, and we'll add that to the notes too in case you guys want to look us up.
You'll see a variety of different personalities or portions of our personalities come out in this podcast. And you're going to stay tuned for different topics. We're going to talk about different aspects of life, several different aspects of life.
We're going to talk about life. We're going to talk about kids, work, sleep, eating. We're going to share some success stories about people in our area or people who have really felt like they've accomplished a lot of great things in life so we can help you guys stay motivated. We're going to build connections and we're going to have a lot of fun.
We really felt passionate about destigmatizing mental health, and I can speak for myself on this. I felt like in that group where we all met, we had the most fun, but I also learned the most because of the dynamic and the vibe of the group. So we just really want to bring that vibe to you, destigmatize mental health, talk about real life, what's going on out there. Send us your comments on what you want us to address, and we'll take a look at those. We want to talk about what's important to you guys as well. So let us know. Subscribe, rate us, review us, leave us your thoughts. And we want to get to know you guys too.
Share our podcast with all your friends and family. Share it on social media. Get the word out there to help others understand we are attempting to look at mental health in a different aspect.
So join us next week. We're going to be pumping out episodes weekly here at Therapist Uncut. Join us next week as we start looking into all things COVID, because what else is there to talk about right now? Really, guys? I mean, come on.
Thanks for joining. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you for joining Therapist Uncut, a production of AMP Smart Business. To learn more about Therapist Uncut and stay up on upcoming episodes, please subscribe and follow us on social media. As a reminder, although the Therapist Uncut co-hosts are licensed therapists, they are not your therapists. This podcast is not intended to substitute professional mental health counseling. If you need professional therapy, please contact your local provider or primary care provider. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Therapist Uncut.